termism of Western liberal capitalism, as he described it. And this stuff does go in cycles. When you start at 1600 and you go through to 2008, you see cycles. And those of you involved in the Māori world can feel the pressure of the wave behind you. I know you can, we all can. The Prime Minister at Waitangi said something that I really completely agree with. She said, there is real energy in the Māori world. And Māori success is not only good for New Zealand, it is absolutely necessary. She's right. The future in Aotearoa depends upon the success of the Māori project. That's the reality of it. And we have to get our heads around that. We have to get our heads around the new responsibility that is coming to us, that we're at the base of the wave of, which will hit its peak in the times of when my children hit their peak and when my grandchildren in particular hit their power years. Let me explain to you why that is. We're 15% of the population, Māori. 15% of the 4.2 odd million New Zealanders tick the Māori box. Many of those Māori, more than half, ticked another box too, but that's immaterial for present purposes. 15%, around 600,000. But we are 21% of the school-age population. And get this, 2005, 28% of the newborns. 28% of the newborns. Now you combine that with the other people of colour in this country. Māori, Pacific Islanders and Asians together are 41% of the school-age population. And 55% of the newborns in 2007. 55%. Now those numbers are only going one way, both for Māori and for the other people of colour. We are actually going to become, as a country, rather more like Hawaii and much less like Australia. So we've spent a generation now departing from Australia in our culture. There's no divorce, no division, but we are slowly drifting in another direction. The next two generations will take us way off into the Pacific and way away from the Tasman. One question I asked myself was, my watch broke. One question I asked myself was around, just in the generation just gone. 1/3 of our kids in primary school, 1/3 of our kids in kohanga reo are educated, popping out through the system as native speakers of Māori. About 40 or 50,000 kids per year going through the system, learning Māori as their co-first language. You can't grow up in this country without learning English, but as their co-first language, Māori is there too. 160,000 speakers of Māori in the country. That's great news, of course, and a lot of that is being spawned by the extraordinary success of Māori television. 22 Māori radio stations. 80% of the Māori population. This is, in 1975, the experts in Te Reo Māori said, because at that stage, 5% of Māori kids spoke Māori. 5% of Māori kids at school could speak. It is not uncommon. And get this, 20% of the speakers of Māori in this country are not Māori. Believe that? You have to believe it, TPK produced the number. 34,000 Māori adults did a course in the Māori language. Now that's a quiet revolution going on, well under the radar. Actually we can all feel it, but it's not painful. There is some stress around it, and we saw that the election 35, I think he says. 40% of the workforce in New Zealand will be Māori or Pacific Island. Neo-Polynesians, as I call them. 40% of the workforce will be Māori or Pacific Island. One of the challenges we're going to have to confront is if that Māori and PI population is as incarcerated as it is now, as uneducated, as unwell, and as criminal as it is now, when we strike that date, we're in trouble. To a settler majority in 1858. And we have to get on to that. That's why tribal endeavour is important for the country, not just important for Ngāi Tahu, my tiny little mercenary tribe Ngāti Pukenga. It's important for New Zealand Inc. that we tribes make our contribution and take our place. When I speak to young kids, which I do really as often as I can because I see this as so important, I say to them, you know, in my generation the skill we needed was anger. We were the protest generation. How the tribe fits into that. Because we live complicated lives now. I don't live in Manaia where my people come from, and only a minority of my tribe live there. For most tribes, our lives are taken up by non-tribal matters most of the time. We live in an individualised Western liberal democracy in which individual endeavour is the way in which we're going to get ahead most of the time. What's most important is not your membership, in terms of your economic well-being, is not your membership of Ngāti whoever or Ngāi Te whoever. It's not the strength of your arm as it was for our grandparents. It's probably not even what you inherit. It's that. Education, intelligence and so forth, in the world of pure ideas that we're walking into, is going to define how well you do as an individual. But, as many Western liberal democracies all over the world are discovering, individual wealth is not producing happiness. In fact, in large part, it's producing generation upon generation of disconnectedness, of stress on the social cohesion that Brian Easton was talking about. And it made me think of a truth that I heard a psychologist utter, interestingly enough, but I never really thought psychologists would utter truths. But this person who I listened to said, the basic human drive is not the drive for happiness, despite what the US Constitution says about the right to
pursuit of happiness.
Something and the pursuit of happiness, is to belong. As social animals, it is deeply ingrained in our DNA. If we belong in a poor community, we are happy. If we belong in a rich community, we are happy. If we are rich and don't belong, we are unhappy. Seems to me leading the tribe is probably something like gardening. You get the soil that you're given. You can't change that. You get the seed that you're given. You can't change that. What we've got is the demographic I've described and the problems I've described. We can't change them, not currently anyway. They're being handed to us. We can work on them into the future, but what we're being handed, we're being handed. The difference between a good crop and a failed crop is the gardener. And that's where we're at with leadership. The difference between the largest ethnic minority that is still the most incarcerated, least well, dumbest, least healthy ethnic minority in the country. Leadership will decide